Hello, my dear beautiful seekers and finders. Welcome. Welcome to the Way of Truth number 49. My name is Artem Boycev. I'm a spiritual teacher and author of truefreedom.org. So, truefreedom.org is my website. It contains a large collection of my writings on the topic of spiritual enlightenment. And here in this bi weekly podcast, I speak to my students. We discuss all matters spirituality. I answer questions. I provide guidance. We talk about the nature of reality, the nature of the ego, and the path from suffering to deep peace, love, equanimity, and contentment. So, the best way to participate in this podcasts is live, so I highly encourage, if you wish to participate, I highly encourage you to follow this link. So, YouTube and Facebook, we are broadcasted on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. But if you're on Instagram, the Instagram limits the length of broadcasts to 1 hour. So if it ends abruptly, that's because we're at 1 hour mark. Usually our broadcasts last a little longer than 1 hour. So you can switch to YouTube. And if you're the first time here, again, welcome. Feel free to join the broadcast via this link that I just posted. Or if for whatever reason you don't want to do that, you can simply post comments on YouTube and Facebook. YouTube would be better because sometimes my streaming software loses connection to Facebook. So, all right. So we don't have any live guests right now, but I do have a couple of questions submitted into comments. So let me bring that up. Thomas says, in your journey, did you ever retrospectively confront people for their abuses or just forgive and forget? That's a great question. Yes. So so the spiritual journey can be described as a journey of resolution of suffering. And the causes of suffering are always mistreatment and abuse. As we get mistreated and abused, we also start mistreating and abusing other people and exacerbate our suffering with this, because then there's a lot of guilt. So invariably, once we go deep enough on the spiritual journey, we start to get appreciation of how deeply mistreated we were or how we mistreated other people, and usually both. So it's a period, one time I read it described as the period of reevaluation. And strictly speaking, after the initial insight that the ego doesn't exist, because ego is basically the persona that we create to justify what's going on. So it could either be a subservient persona that justifies the abuses that you receive, or it could be a narcissistic persona that justifies your own behavior. And it's usually both. So if one is on the surface, the other is deeper down below. And the other way around. So strictly speaking, after the initial insight that this persona, the ego, doesn't exist, everything that follows later, what can also be described as shadow work, getting in touch with rejected parts of yourself, opening up your heart, opening up your spiritual heart, embodiment, alignment. People describe it in many ways, using many words. But you could also say that it's a period of reevaluation. And this is also why people see their past lives. So it's a period of resolving the past and truly seeing and understanding what really happened in the past and letting go of the past. So in the dream space state, the past manifests as usually quite a striking amount of suppressed emotion. And so that's a very valid question. Everyone who ventures deep enough has needs to face the trauma that is stored in the body as dormant energy. It could be hateful energy, resentful energy. There could be lots of tears and grief about what happened to them as they were little children. Some people see the past lives. That's actually about all the same thing. So whether to confront people who have mistreated you or not is a difficult question. So it is generally speaking, good for you to be able to do that. Because as you do that, you will invariably face the fear. So you will invariably face the fear, and you're probably also conflict averse with this person, or somehow scared of this person, or you never spoke about what happened. So because people who mistreat us usually at the time of mistreatment, they have power over us. The biggest example of this, of course, is family and parenthood. So the parents unconsciously, due to no fault of their own, usually, I mean, not always, but usually quite unconsciously, condition their children and abuse their children. So, and this fear of your father, for example, your mother, can carry deep into adulthood. That's the same fundamental fear of all egoic fear. That's how the ego is created. So confronting someone about what happened, or speaking about what happened for the very first time, can be quite an emotional, difficult experience, and it's good for you. It's good for you. On the other hand, as it comes to another person and the situation in general, it really depends on how open-minded they are and how connected to their own heart they are. Because just like it is difficult to acknowledge being abused, it's equally difficult to acknowledge having been in the wrong. And the emotions that come with it are guilt. So people get very defensive. It's actually quite painful also to acknowledge that you've been wrong, to acknowledge that you've been abusive, to acknowledge that you were doing something, you hurt somebody. So you could argue that it could be good for them, but only when if they're ready. So what happens oftentimes, and it happens more often than not, is that you're not going to get an apology. They're going to get very defensive, and there's going to be an escalation of conflict. And also in this moment when you're only coming to terms to what happened, you also usually have a lot of repressed and acknowledged anger, and it is very difficult to confront them with compassion and empathy for them. So, for example, if you've been brought up in a narcissistic family, you're probably not going to get any apology whatsoever. You're going to get dismissal, minimization, and all the usual things. So sometimes it will be turned on you, being ungrateful son or ungrateful daughter, and things like that, which can bring up additional pain in you. So the answer is, it depends on how strong the relationship is. Is there authentic love in it? Is there, if you wish to get an understanding and an apology, is there an ability in another person to actually open their heart and listen to your side, and listen to what happens? If this is the case, it can be wonderful, very emotional. It can get you closer. Or, for example, if you don't value this relationship anymore, and you just want to tell your side of the story, then it's okay. But remember also that anger and hatred only leads to more anger and hatred. So I think a certain amount of processing is required before you actually just start spilling things and making things, everything much more miserable instead of much more connected and heartfelt. So for this, like for example, in my case, I never seriously challenged my father, and not because he didn't do a lot of bad things. He did a lot of bad things, but because he would never acknowledge that he doesn't apologize ever for anything, pretty much ever. And he's so elderly and so fragile that I just don't want to induce any additional stress on his body. So there are people whom you can kind of get closer to, influence, turn around, try to reach a mutual understanding with. And then there are some people whom you cannot do that. The deeper you go, the easier it becomes to difference. So trust your intuition. So it is precisely for that reason also on our forum we have channels where you can vent, where you can actually kind of write or speak all the things you would want to say to abusers. You can vent your anger towards them and things like that, because oftentimes that's the best you will get. That's kind of the best resolution and understanding that you will get is from other people on the spiritual path who can relate to, or not just on the spiritual path, but someone who's been through something similar, who can relate to it. Remember that forgiveness happens by feeling. So forgive and forget is not exactly accurate. You never forget, you just forgive. And forgiveness happens through accessing and experiencing the dormant, rejected reactions to abuse. So the lack of forgiveness is basically carrying resentment, carrying hatred and anger in our hearts. So in experiencing and allowing yourself to experience this anger and hatred, we release ourselves from it. So it's completely okay to speak, to vent, to confront in some cases. Whether something good will happen, more often than not, it doesn't, and unfortunately. So even someone really close to you, if they are abusive, they would have to step on this path ourselves, so to speak. So it's very difficult to make someone realize something or make someone apologize. I mean, even if they do, it's going to be insincere. So it's I would say it's a balance. I myself have made many mistakes of the same sort, where I would try to confront someone who doesn't want to be confronted and wouldn't change their ways, and I would try and it rarely works, unfortunately. I mean, people change only on their own accord. So the best you can do is show love and understanding without letting them exploit you, of course, because letting them exploit you and abuse you is also not loving towards them. So I hope that answered the question. And by the way, speaking of our community where we can talk openly and freely without judgment about these things, especially if you're the first time here, then I invite you to join a Discord server using this link. Okay, so let's look at the next question. So Thomas continues. So apologies, it looks like there's something with my internet connection today. If it's a little choppy, sorry, but it goes in and out a little. So Thomas is asking, does enlightenment, even with people who have severely abused them, is there no more triggers? Yes, generally speaking, this is correct. It does not mean, though, that the nature of relationships stays the same. So it does not mean that you allow them to continue to abuse you, or you become a doormat and you do everything that they want. So it's kind of the same dynamic, the same relationship, but without. No, of course not. Enlightenment is flowering to self-love. So you cannot, let yourself be abused in the name of self-love. That's not self-love. So the nature of relationship could change. But generally speaking, yes, absolutely. It is completely effortless and not painful. So without any trigger to be in the presence of or to speak to a person, even a person who have severe before, it's not easy for them, though, actually. If you are an abusive person, one of the hardest thing for you to do is to look the person you have abused in the eyes when they have a full understanding of what happened. So that's actually quite a difficult thing. It can be a very difficult thing to do because in our abusive patterns, not only we try to convince ourselves that it didn't happen, but we also try to convince another person that it didn't happen. That they deserved it. We need this justification. See, so a person who doesn't buy this justification is a threat to your ego already. So it can be difficult for them, but generally speaking, yes, it's very easy. So not always, of course, it's not like always, like they bad in your presence. No, not at all. It depends on what the conversation is about. It depends on what's going on, right? But if they exhibit their old patterns and you don't react to them, you don't succumb to their abuse, then it can be quite difficult for them. So you also continue, the notion of equanimity, effortless non-reactivity. How does this relate to boundaries and tolerating abuse and shame attempts from others? Do you tolerate abuse via jokes? Do you laugh along? Good question also. So first of all, I have a talk from one of my retreats on boundaries. I sincerely recommend you watch it. So in this talk, I kind of expand a little bit on the boundaries within consciousness and how it relates to the boundaries between people. For a lot of people, setting a boundary is actually more difficult than continuing to succumb to abuse. So that is more difficult than it's almost surely what needs to be done. So setting a boundary can be more scary. You see, so it can be scary. It could trigger fear of abandonment. It could trigger loneliness. It could trigger just fear, the fear of punishment or shame. So certainly, the enlightened state is not such where your behavior is always most pleasing to other people, because other people are not always right. You see, other people are not always right. And people pleasing comes from fear. It comes from fear of abandonment. It comes from the fear of invalidation. It comes from fear of punishment. It comes from fear of violence. So certainly, uh, it's not uh, just complete tolerance, complete acquiescence, so to speak. Do you tolerate abuse via jokes? That's also a good question. Generally speaking, no. Do you laugh along? I don't laugh along if the joke is at my expense, right? So there is very different kind of there are very different kinds of humor, and humor, just like everything else, is weaponized by the ego. So when you're laughing at someone's expense, when you're laughing at their misfortune, at their perceived stupidity, when you're laughing condescendingly, when in the laughter there's like, I'm laughing at you because you are inferior, because you're worse to me. That's actually very cruel. So there's this whole kind of humor. Sarcasm is a great example. So sarcasm, generally speaking, is this kind of humor. There's so a kind of humor that makes another person feel bad, and that is why it is so pleasant for you. So no, of course, like if someone laughs at me in this way, that I don't laugh along with them at all. But if someone laughs at me kindly, uh, heartfully, like for example, I make something, I do something stupid, and they've done something stupid, and they laugh at me, then yeah, of course I laugh along. So such a person would also be laughing at themselves. You see, so the only person who has the right, morally speaking, to laugh at your misfortunes and to laugh at your mistakes is the person who's done the same mistakes and who's been the same misfortune, and they're not just laughing at you, they're laughing at themselves, they're laughing at their prior selves. The laughter is like, oh, look at this, idiot, I would never, that's not, can be it. So okay, so we have a guest. Her name is Val. Let me bring her on stage. Hi, Val.
Oh, hi, Artem.
Hi.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too. Welcome.
Thank you. I was just listening, but I thought that I might just join
Yes, yes, of course, it's much
in
funner.
here.
How are you?
Oh, good, thank you. No, but go on. I just like to hear your thoughts. I feel really calm. Actually, I've been following you for a long time. You have helped me a lot
Oh,
in
beautiful.
discovering some truths about myself and to find a way within myself to feel free,
Mm-hmm.
which was really painful but extremely exciting, because once you know the truth, you can really be uh, calm, like in peace with yourself.
Yeah,
Happiness and the other emotions will keep going. You will still feel it, but it won't affect you in the way it did before. So thank you so much for all your work.
of course, it's my pleasure. Thank you very much. Thank you for your kind words. I really appreciate it. Warms my heart. Thank you. All right, so I'm very happy for you, and I'm very happy that I could be of service to you. So if you don't have any questions, then I'll uh, take you down, metaphorically speaking.
I will. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. All right. So that was Val. I never spoke to her before. It was very nice making her acquaintance. So Kaspar says, "Can you describe your major breakthroughs in your self-realization? How did they unfold? Did you have one day where you had a sudden realization or many breakthroughs?" Okay. So to fully describe the path, uh, we don't have the time for that. So I would like, if I just wanted to talk at length about everything that I've realized, like it would be a very, very long thing. Uh, but to answer your question, many. It's not just one. So there's a major realization, which of course I only made once, which is the ego doesn't exist, which is I don't exist, which is the persona that I have created in my mind exists only in my mind. But that's just the beginning. There are After that there are lots of new things. For example, that the personas of other people are also false in my mind. The nature of dreams, the nature of painful emotions, of most emotional experience in the dream state. And as the persona unravels, uh, it's just like I described in my answer to Thomas previously. You are seeing yourself for how you really were. You're seeing all of your insecurities. That's very painful. You're seeing your victimhood. You're seeing your aggression. And then you see other people for how they really are. So you see, for example, that how condescending they are towards you. It can also be very painful. Like so you start seeing, and you're paying less and less attention to what you feel, which is the most uh, which is the thing that grabs most of our attention in the dream state of how we feel. The whole dream state is about trying to orchestrate how we feel, and you pay more and more attention to what's true, and consequently you pay less and less attention to what people say and more attention to what people do. So you start noticing your own lies, you start noticing the lies of the mind, and you also start noticing how deceitful and manipulative people are, and all of this is very unpleasant. So lots of different breakthroughs, lots of understanding about how my life unfolded before, including some very painful ones. So uh, I would not be able to just list them all. The shifts of identity, which are mostly described in spirituality. I mean, nowadays I don't even remember them as something very important. Like, uh, well, the first one is that the identity shifts to consciousness. Then, like, it shifts to something beyond consciousness, the nothingness, transcendental awareness. All of those was very nice, but the real uh, breakthroughs, the real thing that leads to transformation of the human being. So the main things that lead to an equanimous, quiet mind and a calm, loving heart are about your prior self, are about your prior self and your relationship with other people. How because the self, the ego, is formed in relationship with other people. So whether it's subservient relationship or rebellious relationships, the relationship to authority, the nature of romantic love, uh, the masculine and feminine approach to sex. So what we call masculinity, femininity, all of those energies merge. So lots of breakthroughs and uh, subsequent relaxations and subsequent liberations, like small liberations. So it's a process. That's what makes it fun. So um, yeah, so that's how I would answer this. Um, Thomas keeps asking lots of good questions from Thomas today. Would an enlightened person ever terminate a relationship with someone who refuses accountability or to apologize to you, or is this extreme? Well, yes, of course. There's nothing, like, strictly speaking. There's no question like would an enlightened person ever do X or ever not do X. That I would say no. Like, an enlightened person would never, because that itself is bondage. Everything is circumstantial, and so when you say the relationship, it depends on what kind of relationship, right? Uh, like for example, would I terminate a relationship with my boss at work who refuses to take accountability or apologize to me? Probably not. If this is my job, and if I don't want to change the job, like, well, what do I care if he apologizes to me or not? You see, yes, it's unpleasant, but uh, like, to see that, right? I'm not saying it's painful or it's triggering. Well, that's he's the person. Uh, he's, for example, the way he is, and if this is my job for the moment, then why would I like just terminate this relationship? That's It depends on what kind of relationship, right? Or for example, would I terminate a relationship with my son who refuses accountability or apologizes to me? No, of course not, right? On the other hand, if you engage with someone romantically, and you're considering them to be your long-term partner, is this a problem? Yes, it is a problem. Yes, if they never refuse, if they never accept responsibility and never apologize, it also means that they never self interest they never do any self introspection. They very much disconnected from their hearts, and they're quite selfish. So do you really need a very selfish partner? So the question here is always, is there a deep love, is there a deep connection that that makes you enjoy this person regardless of what they are? Would I terminate a relationship with my mother who is like that? For example, if she was like that, uh, she's like that to a large degree, but not completely. Uh, no, of course not. Or with my father, no, no, of course not. Would I terminate a relationship with my student, for example, who never takes accountability, or never apologizes? Probably, actually, because if they never take accountability, and they behave towards me in an aggressive or hurtful manner, and never apologize, then this is not good for them, and I cannot teach them. It means that they don't have respect for me, in order for me to try to guide them or teach them. So it's all very circumstantial. I mean, remember, there is no philosophy of life. There are no rules of life that will always give you the best results all the time. You see, what gives you the best results is being yourselves. It, what makes life beautiful, what makes it really flower, what makes it really bloom like the most beautiful flower that it is opening up your heart. Is opening up your heart to yourself. Is opening up your heart to others. And the heart knows the way. You know what to do in every particular situation. If it is only our unconscious that blocks the view, so to speak, you know what's going on. And so if you know what's going on, and you've had also experience in previous situations, then you also know what's likely to happen. And if you've seen suffering in ignorance in yourself, and you've seen suffering in ignorance in a lot of other people, then you know more or less how it works. So someone who can never take accountability or never apologizes does not do any spiritual work whatsoever. It's not possible. And by the way, the same actually applies to some spiritual teachers as well, who think they're all so high and mighty that they never apologize for anybody to anything about anything. This is not a sign of an enlightened being. Not apologizing is not a sign of deep insight. I might have no ill will, even though I would gladly apologize for any remnants of ill will that I might still display to others. But even if I don't have any ill will towards someone, I can make a mistake, or I can be clumsy, or just like you're walking, and then you like bump into another person, or you do some movement with your hand, and you kind of hit them, not on purpose, and you say sorry, just as a sign of that you didn't mean it. So somebody who's never apologized, that's not a sign of very deep realization, I can tell you that. um, okay, let's see, then you also asking a question about economics. That's a good question, but let me see if I have what else. something else. Prem says, "Good to be here. Thank you for creating the space." Absolutely, it's great to meet you too, and I'm inviting everybody. By the way, also let me post this. So I'm inviting everybody. If you find it useful, then please schedule one-on-one meeting with me. So on one-on-one meetings, it's not only answering questions, even though I can answer questions in your spiritual path, I can give you some tips in meditation. We can discuss your practice. If it's working for you, maybe you need to change something. But we can also do other things. We can do direct transmission, which is just looking at each other in silence. It arises a lot of things, a lot of people. Or we could do what I call radical inquiry, which is with carefully designed questions and statements, we probing deeper and deeper into your psyche, deeper and deeper into your ego, your fears, your misconceptions, your illusions, and we open to all of it in a container of love and acceptance. And this is actually a wonderful way also exercise and can lead to a lot of growth. So this is the link. If you wish to schedule a one-on-one meeting with me, please do that. And also, I wanted to say that I would really appreciate it if you like those videos, if you could support me on Patreon or on PayPal with monthly donations. So I will post a link also. Your support will also help me to speak with people, to help people who cannot afford anything. Quite a significant number of my students cannot afford even $25 for a session. So I speak to them for free, and we rely on your donations here. So if you can, please support our work. If you already do, then thank you very much. I really appreciate it. And then also I wanted to mention really quickly, so our retreat in April is full. In Northern California, the next one is going to be in fall, and we're also going to have a retreat in July in Europe. So if you're in Europe, if you're in that part of the world, then stay tuned, join the Discord, keep following my work, and we will announce it when the dates are set. So Thomas also said, confronting, is that necessary for self-esteem? If parent or sibling physically or sexually assaulted you and pretends it was a joke and minimizes it, would asking accountability not be self-esteem? Yes, certainly. I mean, I was speaking mostly about, maybe I misunderstood your question a little bit, because I thought your question was mostly with regards to things that happened a long time ago, like for example, childhood. So with some parents, it can be extraordinarily difficult and very not rewarding to kind of reevaluate or talk about. It just doesn't fit their view of children to be subservient, and it doesn't matter how old you are. So if you're speaking about somebody, well, you are actually speaking about parents. You also speaking about assault that is somewhat more an abuse, somewhat more extreme than I had in mind when I was entering. When I was answering this question, like physical or sexual abuse. But then again, you see, you absolutely can confront a parent who physically or, God forbid, sexually abused you. The question here is, what do you think will come out of it? Is it good for self-esteem? Like if you feel like this is something that you must do, if you feel like this is something that your heart wants to do, go ahead and do it, right? But if it was strictly speaking required for forgiveness, then it would be impossible to forgive a parent who abused you who is now dead. So then everybody who have abusive parents who are now dead would be kind of doomed to never forgive anybody and continue to live in suffering. That is not true. Forgiveness is your project. It strictly speaking, it does not require confrontation. So in this sense, you can look at confronting as more of a practice for yourself rather than something that is absolutely necessary. So if this is if you have never spoken about something and you have been afraid to speak about it, if you have never expressed your anger and discontent about something, uh, and you feel like it is appropriate in the situation, then absolutely go for it. I don't think that it's good for abusers uh, when everyone else is in silence. The silence in this case hurts the abuser as well. You know, the person who abuses hurts themselves too. They don't just hurt you. Uh, but again, just like I said in my previous answer, uh, do not expect a reconciliation. Do not necessarily expect apology or forgiveness. I know that it's a bitch. I know the yearning. I know how deeply I wished my parents to understand me. I know how deeply I wished my father, for example, to acknowledge uh, all the abuse that has been committed. Uh, I know how deep my desire was to reconnect, to receive some empathy, some understanding, to receive some heart for it. I didn't. so so please temper your expectations, basically. uh, if you feel that uh, it will it might prevent some further abuse, I mean, it might be warranted. But again, remember that people change only on their own accord, and only love changes. Judgment and hatred never change. So to the extent that you would still be very bitter about it, uh, it might be an important conversation to have. But again, how well it will be, I don't know. How well it will go, I don't know your situation. So I cannot answer your question just by without knowing the full extent of your situation, without being in your skin. Basically, I cannot answer. If you're asking me, should I do this or you shouldn't do this, I cannot just give you an answer. I can only tell you to listen to your heart. I can only tell you to not restrain yourself, to not fall to the mind's habits of saying, okay, this is improper, or you should be silent about it. Right? This is not true. But on the other hand, like, oh, you should punish them, you should avenge yourself, it's good for my self-esteem, I'm a doormat if I don't do it. That's not true also. So I can only tell you to listen to your heart, and I can only tell you to do what feels right. And 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 this will develop in time. So what feels right to you now might not feel right to you 10 years from now. But that's always the best we can do. The best we can do is always to follow our heart, and always to do what feels right. So I wish I could just give you an answer, do it or don't do it, but I can't. I can only tell you from my experience that sometimes it's a good thing, but oftentimes it's not. So it depends on another person. It depends on another person, their openness, and their ability to connect with you. So for Ferenc Galamba says, "Hey Artem, hi. This is not a usual question, but I'm still curious. There's a small chance that people, after becoming enlightened, seduce or trying to pick up girls. But if so, does their skill get okay. Okay, so I've played this game before. Like in my dream state, I like used to like pick up girls and things like that. Uh, Here's the thing: everything that is skill in picking up girls is fake. So if something is a skill, it's a manipulation game. I used to like long time ago like study this, techniques and things like that, and none of them really worked. When I truly became successful with women is not when I learned some pickup techniques, but when I actually relaxed and I stopped being afraid of being myself, and 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 I started to become genuinely interested in them, and I started enjoying them. Like it's like basically it included a rather uh, difficult multi-year period of forgiveness for the abuse in relationships, for very cruel divorce, for kind of being a social reject before, for being overlooked by women before. So basically, it included also a long period of emotional turmoil where I became closer and I kind of started relating to women much more as people. That all was all before enlightenment, much more as people, same as men. Also, they can get horny as men. Also, they cheat as men, just like men, and just as sexual as men, and just as imperfect as men, rather than some sexual objects or some perfection. You know, something that is better than me that I should get. So after that, I kind of became interested in them as people, and I wasn't, and I stopped being afraid of actually being my true self, including being my very sexual self or being very upfront sexually. So I was basically, I basically stopped pretending and start being more authentic, and that is when I started to be successful with women. So if you kind of go out, pick up girls after enlightenment, and you try to do it skillful, like with skill and manipulation and everything that you learned from this pickup industry, it actually will start working worse and worse and worse. But if you actually enjoying the opposite gender, if you actually notice that you started to love and appreciate women for their beauty, for you started loving things in them that you lack yourself, and there's a growing connection uh, in your mutual humanity, then the results, so to speak, will be better and better, but you won't be thinking of them as results because it will not be a goal-oriented activity, but just enjoyment. Just a true enjoyment of another individual. There is nothing that is more attractive than when you actually enjoy another individual. So I hope this answers your question. Is enlightenment feels like suddenly you understand everything and everything clicks? I mean, to an extent, also, but it's not a sudden process. So enlightenment is a realization. It's a remembrance. It's a remembrance of your true nature. And if we speak about understanding everything and things clicking, then first of all, we have to make a caveat that we're not talking about understanding everything in the literal sense, meaning, I don't know, like physics, mathematics, finance, like everything, chemistry, but understanding everything about your psyche and about the psyche and suffering of other people. That doesn't happen suddenly. That's a slow process. Alignment, shadow work. You can call it however you wish, but that's a slow process. And the more you understand your own suffering, the more you can understand and relate to the suffering of others. So after the moment of insight, there's a deep process of cleaning up or purification of mind, so to speak. So the destruction of the psychological world of emotional ties and manipulations that the ego inhabits, and it oftentimes feels like the destruction of the whole world. You know, Adyashanti's book was called The End of Your World. It's a very good name because the ego literally inhabits this world. And in this world, there are other people, and there are very complicated relationship with them based on superiority, inferiority, shame, admiration, hatred, condescension. So the destruction of this whole world gives you deeper and deeper insight into human psyche and the human suffering. That does not happen instantly. On the intellectual level, you may understand something instantly, but remember, you've been conditioned and you lived in fear and in suffering and in bondage for many, many years. It is completely unrealistic to assume that the freeing, the dropping out of this bondage can happen instantly. You know, so it's a process of unraveling. So just like you've been accumulating it, the process of shedding it also takes time. Okay, Thomas continues. The crux: do you allow people to mistreat you to any degree as you're in equanimity and feel compassion for them, or do you have zero tolerance and strict boundaries? Neither. I mean, again, those are very extreme statements. If I allowed people to mistreat me to zero degree, right? If I didn't allow anyone to mistreat, that I wouldn't be able to talk to anyone, basically, right? So the only people that I would even allow in my life in any way would be enlightened people. Like if I wouldn't be able to teach. I mean, if you think my students don't mistreat me suddenly or not so suddenly, you know, think again. Actually, I mean, most of my students mistreat me suddenly, subtly, not suddenly, but subtly. Even if they have a lot of respect for me, it's and I'm not even talking about just living in society, just living in the world. So I don't pass off as enlightened. I'm just like, to most people, I'm just a completely ordinary person. To a lot of spiritual people, I'm a magnet for their projections. So I wouldn't able to uh, function if I had zero tolerance for mistreatment. And the other extreme is not is to allow all mistreatment. That's also so there's a the if the person is genuinely attracted to truth, if the person is genuinely attracted to the path, then I can forgive a lot of things. But for as long as the person keeps working with me, keeps working by themselves, keeps working on themselves, keeps sinking deeper and deeper into truth, I will still help them. And in the context of just social interactions, in the context of life, it really depends on, as I mentioned previously, on what relationship I have with this person, the nature of this relationship. You know, like I cannot expect my bank not to mistreat you. I mean, that's their business model. I mean, like credit card companies, for example. so so or on the nature of my relationship with this person. So there's deep love from, if it's my parents childhood friends, then yeah, I would forgive a lot. Yeah, so it's a balance. You see, you're trying to find rules for living. You're not gonna find it. There is no answer that would be applicable to any situation. You need to decide for yourself in every specific uh, instance, and you will make mistakes, and you will learn from them. You see, and the more suffering is still hidden in your unconscious, the more mistakes you will make, and the more learning you will have to do. But the biggest mistake you can make is to say, okay, like from now on only like this. I mean, this is my rule, because the nature of all these rules is so that you don't make mistakes, so that you don't suffer again. But in this way they become counterproductive, because they trying to protect your heart, they trying to protect your ego from further suffering, and that's not what's going to get you deeper. So all those rules, all those statements about the future, oh, I should live like this, I should live like this, they all actually dissolve, they all actually disappear in enlightenment. It all becomes very circumstantial, right? So so in each situation, do what you feel you called to do, and never ignore any emotions that you have about it. Not in the way that, okay, if you feel anger, then you must do something. Not this kind of way of ignoring, but ignoring as a direct experience. So always give attention to everything that you feel. Always give direct attention to everything that you feel. And if you keep doing this, you will keep learning from your mistake, and you will keep uncovering deeper and deeper unconsciousness. Okay. Then you also ask a question about promiscuity. You say, is promiscuity inherently unhealthy? Is it always a symptom of low self-esteem and lack of care for yourself on the other? It usually is. It's not all. It's not always. No, it not always. But the promiscuity that is not the sign of low self-esteem or a lack of care for yourself or the other is just like I was kind of alluding to before. It's enjoyment. So there is no possession, there is no kind of obsession with looks or obsession with status, there's no counting, body count or something, there's no competition in it. It's just enjoyment. It's love and enjoyment, and you can enjoy many people, but there's no element of proving something to yourself or competing with anybody or proving to yourself that you're desirable. So not all promiscuity is unhealthy, but most of it, most of it, I would say. So the vast majority of promiscuity in our society has to do with self-esteem issues and dissatisfaction, using sex as an escape mechanism, sexual objectification, sexual status, things like that. Casper says, "What's to surprise you?" Lots of things, actually. People rarely surprise me with regards to their suffering, the psyche, or the depth, or things like that. But their skill, like for example, what they do, can still surprise me a lot. Humans are so incredibly skillful. I mean, the level of performance. I mean, the things that people do, the things that people can create, the creativity of people, of course, still surprising. Nature, the universe, the physics, the discoveries that we make, astronomy, cosmology, those things still surprise me. Nature still surprises me. The world is full of wonders. The world is full of wonders. The only thing that doesn't surprise me is because I have studied it myself to a tremendous degree, is the nature of human suffering and the nature of the mind and the ego. I mean, who knows? Even there might be some surprises, but the world itself is full of wonderful, beautiful, interesting things. I'm never bored with the world. Um, Blind or Nothing says, "Greetings, Artem. Hi. How did you handle Kundalini, and how long did the phase of awakening last for you?" Well, I didn't handle it; it handled me. I mean, you can't handle it. You just, all you can do, you just feel it. Just feel it. Just allow it. There could be lots of sensations everywhere, in extremities, in your arms, in your fingers, your spine, everywhere around your skull. Like lots of buzzing and twirling and wow, wow, wow. There could be lots of things. It's all to be allowed. Kundalini is not actually a phase. Uh, as you go deeper on this path, with every falling away of some suffering, there might be an additional wave of what we call Kundalini energy. So basically, what we call the Kundalini energy is the normal, natural energy of the human body. So it's kind of how a normal neural system is supposed to feel like. So I oftentimes say that the bliss that we experience is actually a relative experience compared to the experience of suffering. So you were suffering, then you let go of something fell away, and you experience bliss. So it's a relative experience. So in a very similar way, you can say kundalini is getting closer and closer to how your body actually is supposed to feel like in the end of suffering, in the lack of suffering. And the dynamic part of it, the kind of moving, or uh, the moving of energy, or the twerking, or and like the waves of energy, is kind of the phenomenology of the neural system coming back to its natural state. So it's not actually phase. It's not like you get an awakening, then you get kundalini energy, then that's it. Then like the journey continues, but already without kundalini energy. It's kind of proportional. The strength of the energy is kind of proportional to how much suffering fell off. So so you or is being let go of, is being explored, and let go of. So it's something that accompanies. It is you can say that there are kind of three main components, right? The mind, the heart, and the body. So you can say that the mind is the intellectual understanding, it's the intellectual insights, it's the ability to put them in words, it's the understanding of the process and yourself and being on the level of the concept. So this is oftentimes when you have an insight, then there is actually an elevated of an activity of the mind as the mind chews on the insights for a while and kind of makes it, adjusts the worldview from the less truthful to more truthful. Then the heart is all of the dormant emotional energy, all of the emotions and the grief and sadness and anger and compassion and tears and all of that. And on the level of the body, well, there are tensions in the body, but on the level of the body, as the ego dissolves, the body is felt more and more directly, and there's a bodily bliss. There's a deep growth in pleasure, pleasurable, pleasurableness of the bodily sensations. Much more sort of acuity. They're much more direct. They become crisp. They become pleasant. The body relaxes, and this process is accompanied with what people generally describe as kundalini energy. So there are three components to this, and so the kundalini is not just a phase; it's going to come and go uh, in proportion to how much processing, how much suffering is being released. Okay. So Maxime, I see you. I will bring you up before the end of the satsang. Okay, White Red says, in meditation, if there's a big shift in the experience from intensity to neutral experience, like warmth, throbbing feeling, should I change the technique? No. No. I had 6 months of intensity now, and there's just a neutral feeling in meditation. Wonderful, wonderful. You don't change the technique. Do whatever uh, uh, whatever stay with whatever arises. The only thing that I would say is that don't try to create this warm feeling, just like don't try to create intensity. Don't try to create anything and open yourself up to everything. The best attitude in meditation is just whatever happens, I'm open. I'm simply open. It can be intensity, it can be bliss, it can be bodily, it can be grief, it can be warm, it can be peace, it could be anything at all. I am simply open. I am open to whatever happens. So this is your technique. Then there's no changing it. And this technique will lead you all the way. Okay. Uh, Alex says, "This is a beautiful life. Thank you. Thank you, my friend." Okay, let's see. Let's see what else we have. So Manny says, "Is humiliation the opposite of conceit?" Well, I mean, you can say they are opposites, um, but humiliation is also conceit. It's you see, humiliation is uh, humiliation is directly connected to shame. It's basically shame. It's one of the biggest tools that people control each other in the dream state. So humiliation is when something tells you when someone tells you that there's something wrong with you and you believe it. Basically, that's why it's painful. It's painful because you believe it. So in some way, it's the mind that is trained, that is conditioned to punish itself, right? So just like with everything else, the feeling of shame as it manifested in the body need to be explored. So it comes from the conditioned fear. It's the fear of punishment. It's the fear of being deprived of love, basically. So it's the fear of being abandoned by someone whose approval you need or you think you need. So that's what it is. Can you feel it? No. And why are some people more sensitive to humiliation than others? So the more you've been shamed as a child, the more your parents used threats of punishment, basically, because that's what shame is. Shame is a threat of punishment. The more sensitive you will be to that, and the more you have been scared and berated, the more your mind kind of soaked in this false picture of yourself, the more susceptible to shame you will be. So just like with everything, again, you need to give shame your direct attention. Shame is pain, and it's connected to fear. And do egos have different sensitivity to certain emotions, or more trapped emotions of a different type? Like, can someone have more hatred but less shame, or more envy but less conceit? I mean, yeah, the composition is quite individual. So yes, certainly. The like some things you mention are very fundamental, though. Like, for example, hatred and self-hatred. It's not possible to have an ego without hatred or self-hatred, just like it's not possible without fear. Some are more secondary, like envy. So the primary uh, emotions, like fear, anger, which is hatred, it's the same. Hatred is just a very intense anger. Fear, anger, um, sadness, they tend to be the same, kind of more or less. I mean, again, you can have less or more, for sure. It depends on how traumatized you are, but they tend to still be quite similar. The secondary, though, it can be individual. So you can be kind of, it doesn't mean that if you're a person kind of who is never jealous of anybody, it doesn't mean that you have very little conditioning at all. So yeah, it's generally speaking, though, you get to experience pretty much everything, but maybe in various degrees. Uh, what was your take of 5-MeO DMT that you mentioned a few weeks ago? I missed it if you addressed it previously. Yeah, I haven't addressed it yet. I basically, I just want to say that I'm not sure. Like, I'm not sure to what extent of a classical psychedelic it is. I mean, classical in the sense it's still a very direct experience, but the classical psychedelics that I consider classical, like is DMT, magic mushrooms, psilocybin, and LSD. There are no lethal dose of them, so you cannot, like, it can be psychologically extraordinary, overwhelming, but the body survives this process just fine. So I'm not sure if that is actually the same for 5-MeO DMT. So for people who want to experiment with 5-MeO DMT, I would sort of just advise caution with regards to very high doses. But again, we're talking about very high doses, like an ordinary dose, or even is what is considered a breakthrough dose, is quite safe for the body, even though it can be overwhelming for the psyche. So my main concern with this is just safety for the body, because the trick is not to die. The trick is to be enlightened while living. Uh, oh, Kevin, I haven't heard from you in a long time. I hope to see you in our retreat in fall. So Kevin says, Artem, can you talk about the dark night of the soul? How long does it last? How often does it occur? How to deal with it? Oh, I mean, if I'm not wrong, then judging by your questions, you're going through something like that. And I'm very sorry, my friend. My heart goes out to you. It can be really difficult. It lasts for as long as it does. It occurs, generally speaking, it occurs either shortly before or after the realization. And what it is just a period of very intense emotional processing, where things that have been dormant for years, like fear, despair, grief, they just come out. They come out, and it seems like there's no end to it. There is an end to it. The key is to let yourself experience it, and give yourself compassion and love, because it is extraordinarily difficult. It is extraordinarily difficult, so you deserve all the love in the world. It's very difficult to see hatred in yourself also, and loathing. Suicidal ideation may come. Never act on it. Okay, so you say, I mean, that's why I say that it's best to speak in person. Like, it's quite difficult to answer questions from text. So everything seems meaningless and pointless and boring. If there's just that, but no pain, no, like, say, despair, sadness, like difficult, very painful emotions, I wouldn't describe it as the dark night of the soul. It's a part of the process. Everything is meaningless and pointless, because life is meaningless. So you make your own meaning of life, and the point of life is experience. The problematic part of this statement, where I think the answer lies, is that it's boring, right? Because boring means dissatisfactory, and dissatisfaction itself is not boring. As I oftentimes say, the boredom isn't boring. Boredom is actually dissatisfaction. So there's some deeper integration that needs to take place of the ultimate meaninglessness of life. And there must be a deeper sinking into experience to take place, because the meaning, the point of life, is actually experiencing it. The mind creates the meaning that is beyond it, and the destruction of this meaning is experienced, is perceived as like, oh, pointless. So I'm depressed, or like, what's the point of it all? The point of it all is to experience it all. And the boredom hides, I'm pretty sure, more layers of grief and more layers of argument with life. So then you say, I'll be giving you a call to chat. Yes, let's do that. Please schedule a session with me. We can explore it in depth, and we can also talk about meditation. Prem says, do you have any experience with chronic fatigue? A friend of mine suffered this affection and I would like to help him. Thanks. Uh, I think we have to differentiate between chronic fatigue that has some physiological causes. And it could be like, vitamin deficiency, bad nutrition, things like that. And the sleepiness and the pull to meditate that is natural occurrence after the realization. Because as I also mentioned previously in this broadcast, it takes a lot of time for the mind to wind down, and there's a lot of dormant energy in the body, and there's a lot of emotional processing. And so the pull to meditate, it also happens in sleep, it also happens in dreams. So the pull to meditate, the pull to lie down, the pull to continue exploring what's dormant, the pull to continue accepting what's been rejected is completely normal. I had period of time when if you combine sleep and meditation, which merged into one experience for me, when you combine them together, I would be in this state for like 12, 14 hours a day. So from the outside, it may look like depression or extreme fatigue, but there was a lot of things that were going on there. There was a lot of emotional release. Also, emotional release by itself can be very taxing. If you've been crying for a long time, it's actually quite an exertion of energy. So we have to differentiate between some physiological causes, which could come from not treating your body well, and simply kind of a side effects of unraveling of the mind. It's completely normal to be sleepy and meditative for prolonged periods of time, actually, after the realization. It's completely normal. Okay, so before we bring Maxime, I would like to remind you to please subscribe to this channel if you haven't. Click on this like the bell button. So please like this video, whether you're watching it here or in Facebook or in Twitter. Share this content. Invite your friends to our Sangha, to our Discord community, to our retreats. We're gonna have one in Europe and another one in fall. You can also visit me in person. I live in Redwood City, so please help me help more people, which would be great for them and also good for me. And again, if you can, please support my work on Patreon or PayPal. And if you do, then lots of gratitude to you. Thank you very much. It helps. So I need to make a living, and your support helps a lot. It helps me to speak with people who don't have any funds. So please, if you can, please continue to do so. All right, thank you very much. Thank you everyone who has came. We have Maxime as another guest. Hi Maxime, what's up? How you been?
Hi mate, I'm alright. How are you doing?
You finally made it.
Yes. Yeah, it's been some time. Yeah, I had a question about listening first.
Mhm.
My first question. So I've noticed now my girlfriend is looking at me now because she's saying like, yeah, you're not listening. So it's a good question to ask. So I've noticed, but it's probably a pattern from my childhood. Probably, I don't know. That it's very hard for me to listen without interrupting, without trying to understand what the person is going to say and jump to some kind of conclusion or something. So I was diagnosed with some attention deficit disorder, so maybe it's linked to this. When I was a child, I was on medication for a long time, didn't work, so I dropped it. But the listening thing still has not it's better, but it's still it could improve in some way. So I was wondering, could listening be a path to enlightenment? That's my first question.
It
And
could.
also, when to
It
listen
would.
and when not
It
to
would
listen. Because
certainly help.
I would listen to you, but a lot of people say complete nonsense, so I don't want to listen to
No,
this.
listen to me
So-
is easy for you. Yeah, you should listen to your girlfriend instead.
She agrees.
Of course she does. uh, so it's certainly a very good practice to be able to listen to somebody
Yeah.
without interrupting. Now, the question that I want to ask you right away is, why do you interrupt? What have you noticed? Like, where does the urge to interrupt come from? What do you wish to gain when you interrupt? What's happening there? Have you looked at it? If you haven't, you might find very interesting things. So, what about this urge to interrupt? Tell me more about it.
Um, I mean, because sometimes I feel that I don't want to listen, right?
Okay, why? Is it
Because I don't
boring?
feel it's. I mean, not talking about my girlfriend now. She's
No, no.
terrible.
Let's talk about
Just in general,
specifically.
because
Let's talk about specifically about her.
yeah,
So
yeah, it's
when she
about her
speaks and you
in general.
interrupt, what's
Exactly.
happening there? So the
Because
first
I
thing that I
don't
want
know where people are coming from. Are they coming from a genuine, clear space, or are they coming from ignorance, right? So if they're coming from ignorance, why should I listen to them, right? Does that make sense? Like,
okay, so are you saying that you interrupt to in to analyze what place she's coming from, or are you saying that you interrupt because you decide that she's coming from ignorance?
not her.
Let's speak about her.
Yeah,
Like
yeah,
we're
yeah.
talking
Yeah,
about her,
sometimes,
only about her.
yeah, sometimes yes, sometimes yes, and also perhaps so, sometimes I don't have the patience to listen.
Patience,
Yeah,
right?
so it depends. Sometimes I'm very patient. Sometimes I'm not. I'm not patient. Not also, for example,
So,
not.
so
Yeah,
even okay. So speaking about only her. So do you interrupt her most of the time because you don't feel like she's telling the truth, or she's coming from ignorance? Is that you
no, no,
no?
no,
Okay. So what's the most? Why does it happen most of the time? Do you get bored? What's happening?
no, I don't.
So if
Uh,
you don't know the answer, if you know the answer to this question, tell me. If you don't know the answer to this question, that's the first thing that I want you to start paying attention to.
yeah.
Why is it difficult, basically? I mean, it's easy to just put it under a one big word, patience. I just like patience. But specifically, what is happening in you specifically that kind of prompts this urge? Why is it difficult to just let her finish and take
Maybe.
take as long as she wants? I mean,
Yeah,
she's your girlfriend after all, right?
yeah. I mean, she's not the best example. There are more people who I struggle to listen more than her. For example, um,
Well,
I'm
the reason that I want to focus on her is that because with other people there could be all sorts of different agendas.
yes,
Like
true.
for example, like I don't know, someone comes into my house to fix the plumbing, and then they want to talk to me afterwards for an hour and a half, right? It depends on what
Of course.
relationship it is, what the context is. But when it comes to your girlfriend, I am assuming that you want to show her as much love as you can.
Of course, of course.
And so that becomes very easy, because the context of this, it becomes much easier to analyze, because the context of this relationship is love and mutual
Yes, of
understanding.
course.
And so in this context, why does it become difficult to listen? Will gain us, I think, most insight.
Yeah, yeah, you're right. Mostly because I'm preoccupied about for example, the job I want to get, like to.
Aha.
So I'm not listening because I'm
So
onto
you're not
something.
listening because there's
As long
something
as I'm not,
already going on,
yeah,
and
exactly.
she's kind of distracting you from it. You're preoccupied with
Because
something.
I'm in my mind thinking about,
Yep,
oh, I need to candidate to this job, or
exactly, exactly. Okay,
so
great,
this for
great.
me, and
So
so I'm
this
not
is good.
listening because I'm somewhere. Yeah.
So every time that you feel like you are uh, kind of not doing a good enough job of listening, or you want to interrupt, I want you to stop for a second and be very honest with yourself to say to admit what's actually going on.
Mm.
And so there are two. So that's very good that you were able to identify it. So there are two things that I would like to comment on. Like, first of all, the first thing is that the more you practice and the more emotional material you excavate, the easier it will be for you to focus on what's going on right now. because
Mm,
it's not like you should never think about the work,
mm,
right? But the or about the job, but a healthy mind finds it much easier to, okay, right now I'm listening to my girlfriend, I'm completely focused on my girlfriend. When the conversation is over, now I can think about
yeah,
my job, right? But this obsessive thinking, the thinking that is difficult to put aside, it is connected to the unresolved fears, anxieties, and things like that. That's why it's obsessive. That's why it comes up even when there's no reason for it to
sure.
come up. It comes
Yeah,
up in times when it's not good.
yeah,
So that's one thing. So it's going to get better with continued practice, with continued excavation of all the fears and anxieties and all the emotional stuff. As the mind quiets down on the spiritual path, it's going to get better. But and it but because it can be very difficult to actually, if you cannot put aside, then you cannot put aside. So then at the very
yeah.
least, practice open communication. Say baby or honey or however you call her, like moo moo, whatever, boo boo. I'm
She's laughing right now. She understands English.
okay, so whatever you call her, to tell her, like, I'm really sorry right now, like my mind is really preoccupied
I'm
and
not able.
I
Yeah,
can't stop thinking
I
about
can't.
stuff.
Exactly.
So
Yeah.
so let me spend some time with it first, and go and spend some time with it.
Mm-mm.
And then when you feel that your mind is freer and you have more bandwidth in your mind, come back to her and say, hey, I would like to listen to you now.
Feel that
And
it's also, yeah. Sorry.
yeah, so that's it. That's the best advice that I can give.
I feel it's also due to a specific desire that I've not fulfilled in my career. So I feel that
Hmm.
there's still a lot of ambition in me, which I have not found. Like I've not found my expression in society, and I feel rejected in the society also. Because when you have this kind of brain, you know what I mean. It's difficult to be
Yeah,
accepted. You had the same problem, so I
yeah.
know this, and somehow for me, it's still, I would still like to find my expression in a work,
You
that
will.
I love. And
You
I'm
will.
like, in my mind is like, as long as I don't get this, people, I won't listen to them. This kind of childish thing. But maybe I need to
It
go for
is.
this.
Yeah.
I need to go back to the society and, maybe work a job that I hate for 3 years and come back to I don't know. But since I've never lived this and all my friends are working, they're all, in a very high paid job. So there's a lot of jealousy also.
Hmm.
So because I did a lot of good studies, I paid a lot of money. Not me. My parents paid a lot of money for my studies, and I considered I'm quite smart, so I should have a great job. So I applied for the top companies, and I'm not getting the results I want. So I'm getting more angry. Why isn't this not working? So in a job
Ambition.
interview, I start to get in defensive, and I'm not able to listen.
Yeah.
That's why for now
Yeah.
it's not working.
That's actually that's all connected to the
It's
repressed
connected,
emotion
of course.
to the ego condition. And ambition is actually quite silly, and envy is quite
No,
silly. I mean, hold on.
but
So
I feel I need to go through it also.
hold on. So
Yeah.
you envying, first of all, you envying what you don't know,
Yeah, of
because
course.
so it's also an illusions of the mind. So you think that if you had what you had, that you would feel better, but that's actually unrelated. So the
I
way,
know.
right, so envy comes from the illusion of that happiness is not here, right, that
Yeah,
is in the future.
yeah,
And ambition is actually quite the same. So ambition is the illusion that if you had the validation, then you would feel better. The truth is actually that if right now, like whatever you picture in your ambitious mind, what you would need, so if right now you would get it, the mind would just find something else, and you would
mm,
either compare yourself with higher rungs,
mm,
right, or with higher ranks of society, of wherever the hierarchy is, or you
yeah,
would find something else. You would say, okay, so I'm satisfied myself here, but oh, here's an area of my life that is satisfied, because it is the nature of the mind to not find satisfaction in the
of
present
course.
moment, to find satisfaction in the future.
Yeah, of course, I'm
So
sure.
so when you find yourself fantasizing about the future, or even like being jealous or resentful, bring yourself to the present moment through the body. So don't try to stop the mind or let the mind engage in this fantasy. Let the mind enjoy it, but don't forget to enjoy simultaneously the bodily response to all of it. Don't just stay in the mind, because the body and all the senses, the experience is happening in the now. The mind is thinking about the future, but this experience is happening in the now.
Yeah, I'm happy in the now, but still those things are there. But
You're happy in the now, but you think you'll be happier in the future. I mean, not because you.
in a way, yes, because for example, I would love to work, for example, in a company like Tesla or something like this, like in a company where I will learn a
That
lot.
example, that
Yeah,
example,
well, for
like,
Google,
in
Google, I
light
would
of
work.
the recent political events.
But in the sense that in my job, I'm not intellectually, I'm not learning anything. I mean, it's a very good job. It's interesting. Yoga teacher, I'm helping people relax and everything. So it's
You,
good
you
for me,
see, the thing,
but
I
I'm
mean,
not learning intellectually.
sorry, I'm sorry for interrupting, because it's been already an hour and a half,
Okay.
and we need to wrap up. You see, the thing is fantasizing about it or lamenting the lack of it is not actually what brings you closer to it.
I know.
So that is why it's important when this things happen. That's why it has to do with conditioning. That's why it has to do that's the dissatisfaction. You might that's basically not the dissatisfaction even that is coming from it's imagined dissatisfaction. Basically, it's created in this moment to try to convince you that there's something wrong with this moment. It itself needs exploration. You can be on track
Mm.
to getting the job that is intellectually stimulating if you know what needs to be done about it. If you know the path there, you want to like work at Google or whatnot, and you want to get yourself better at that. You want to get your skills. You can be enjoying all of this
Mm.
without the mind distracting you with either resentful
Yeah, that's the
envious or beautiful thought
irrational part.
of how it will be.
Yeah,
Because how it will actually be when you
we don't
get
know.
there, it's not gonna be how it's not
Yeah,
gonna be how you picture it. Yeah. So if you like intellectual stimulation, if you like something interesting, if you like learning about the world, or if you like coding, or like whatever it is, then you can start doing it instead of thinking about it, and
yeah,
this will also get you closer
that
to
makes sense.
what you want.
That makes sense. Thank you, my friend. You're the best.
You're most welcome. All right. Thank you for coming. And with that, thank you. It was nice seeing you. And with that, we will need to wrap up. So Prem says, I live in Germany. I will keep attentive to your future shows. Yes, please. So anyone, please come to Discord, and also if you want to be notified when we set the dates, then either contact my wife Katya through Discord, or write me an email or a message with your email address and phone number, and we will get you on the mailing list that will get notification when set the dates. And the same applies to retreats in the United States. And then you say, thank you for your time and wisdom. You're most welcome. Okay, so thank you, everybody. It was wonderful. Lots of fun. Great satsang. I will see you in a couple of weeks. And those who are members of our Discord community, I will see you in a private Discord satsang in about a week. So thank you all very much. Bye. Best of luck to you on the spiritual path. Love you all. Bye bye.